trying to make sure I'm plugged in as well. So I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully it didn't take too long to upload, and hopefully I won't have any technical issues. And welcome to the fourth and final part. I forgot to say it's your boy MKS. It's your boy MKS here. I'm back in another video, and welcome to the fourth and final part of how I think dyslexics could help Celtic and Torino and Italian football generally, which has been the theme I'll be trying to focus on this week. Pretty much, give or take. I know on Tuesday I did stuff about the Dyslexic Billionaires Network, and tomorrow I'm hoping to do stuff about dyslexics designing creative things. I've given a bit away here, but for Halloween and for Friday the 13th, which I've been trying for a while. But yeah, welcome to the fourth and final part. And these are pointers number 31 to 40. I had to resist the urge to have some tea, but it's finally my first video of the day, and it's already nearly 8 p.m. here. So I've been out, had my granddad nap and that kind of thing. I'm hoping to have a pizza after. Nice life story, and then feed the cat, then have my shower or something. So yeah, hopefully I won't get any distractions, preferably. But yeah, just trying to think if there's anything else I was going to say. I think what I'm going to do is the usual thing, which is, by the way, I'm focusing on my Facebook profile this time because it's Friday, so I'm thinking of Facebook Friday. I try and think of the challenge to do like Freaky Fridays. I haven't really watched it, but I know there's a film, Freaky Fridays. I thought, what if I tried to do everything opposite to how I would normally do it? But I never can sort of bring myself to do that as a creature of habit. But I wonder if I could take on a challenge one day to try and do that. I don't know if it would work. But what do you think? I'd love to know. But yeah, I think that covers everything for the intro anyway. And here goes. So number 31, in the future, of course, I hope that I'll get as many dyslexic individuals, groups, organizations, associations, and basically everyone connected with dyslexia together as possible. And also individuals, groups, and all that kind of thing. And also even charities, NGOs, governments themselves, politicians, people involved in Italian football, people in Italy, Italian politicians, councillors and whatnot. And everyone connected to both dyslexia and to Italian football, and Celtic actually, of course. I'm wearing my green and white, and Portugal, a player from Portugal, Jota. I think we're missing him because he's injured. I don't know when he's coming back, probably next in the new year. But anyway, I love to bring us together and travel to Italy, by the way, and Celtic, and Glasgow Celtic, Glasgow where Celtic is based. By the way, I'm finishing off part 4 because I didn't get around to it yesterday or last night. And I talked about the fears I have for the new manager of Celtic. The thing of Celtic, I know Torino, as far as I'm aware, are having their own problems. When it comes to Italian football, I don't really follow who wins domestically. I follow who wins like in Europe, internationally, and that kind of thing. But I don't think that Torino fans are very happy with their manager either. But yeah, we're a bit nervous about our manager, I think, many Celtic fans, but I hope he proves us wrong. And I think one of the things he's got to do is stick players in their position, not try and put square pegs in round holes. And that reminds me of the academic system. Like, it wants to, like, it has a cookie cutter approach, or some people put it like one size fits all, square pegs and round holes. And it reminds me of football. I think of like Dyslexic United FC, Dyslexics Untied FC, even, and that kind of thing. But it reminds me of football where you have different positions and an economy has different minds. I wonder if you had a country where everyone was a doctor. The reason why I mention it is I think about dyslexia and how we're dismissed a lot of time in the academic system. But if you had a country where everyone was a doctor, everyone was trained to be a doctor, I wonder if that country would function. Like, who would fix their cars? Who would sell their food, drinks, and things like that? So I think an economy needs all types of minds. How do you think a country would work if it only had doctors? I'd love to know. Or even if it only had lawyers or whatever other groups of people, entrepreneurs or whatever, like if there weren't different types of minds for the economy. And I think that's the reason why I mention that, is because thinking about dyslexia specifically, and I'm going away a bit from the football thing, but it's like if you're not good at these sorts of things and you're not an A-star student, and you don't get it right every time, and if you make mistakes and you fail, you're a loser and a dunce and that kind of thing. You have to wear that square white hat or whatever it is, saying D for dunce or D for dyslexia or whatever. Dyscalculia is similar, but we have different strengths. I thought I'd mention that point. Just to clarify. No, it's a bit away from the top football, but yeah, I dream that we'll go and travel there to Italy and to Celtic, and to show what we can do. Number 32. I also talk about like what I think my personal strengths as a dyslexic person are. My personal. I know I said I don't have any skills or talents. I want to say talents because this video is technically supposed to be for yesterday, which was a Thursday talents. But many dyslexics do have talents. But I think like connecting. I mean, maybe you could call that a talent, like a talent for connecting people together, things together. Like someone once described when I was on this business course, when I was interested in business. I'm sort of interested in how business works or whatever. But he described that a talent is something you're born with, a natural ability, whereas a skill is something you can acquire. So I'm not sure if that was the correct definition, but I've always thought of it like that since then, pretty much, I think. But yeah, I say I don't have any skills or talents and that kind of thing, or certainly not ones that most people don't already have. Anyway, like, I don't know, I'm just about to tie my laces, or I don't know if I can even tie a tie. I had to wear a tie for 4 years at high school. It was a nightmare because I was so embarrassed. Especially in front of ladies I thought were attractive or whatever. It's a nice life story. But moving on, number 32. Sorry, I think I said number 32, so I'm probably not looking. My personal traits, which I think isn't a word that begins with T, like Thursday, but I was resisting the urge to drink more tea because I know I drink too much tea with my tea addiction or whatever. Pretty much the only drink I drink, other than even drinks are even worse for me. But anyway, someone offered me water last week, and I said, would you like some water? I said, I don't drink water. And someone else would start laughing. But anyhow, I'd like to be more humorous in my videos and be more funny. Some dyslexics are really good with comedy and that kind of thing, but I don't know if that could benefit a Tanful. But maybe we could, or Celtic, but we could have like making films and comedy to fundraise for Tanful, maybe like comedy sets to fundraise for Tanful, and like films we can make about it Tanful and to fundraise for Tanful, maybe, and different fundraising ideas. But I was thinking my own personal thing. If I could make money from films, I could donate that to a Tanful. So I suppose that's time will tell. Hopefully I can. Like Crocodilian and other films which I talked about before on Monday. But I was thinking about like what I talked about, like thinking outside the box, and I wonder how much of my strategies and ideas to give away, my tactics. I jokingly say because it's like Tic Tacs in reverse. Little dyslexia joke there. But I was thinking about saying dyslexia jokes because like to make. I think people shouldn't take life too seriously. But, even though I want to empower dyslexics, I think making jokes is a good way to deal with situations. But of course, you got to be careful not to offend people nowadays. But I was thinking like maybe people might say anyone could think of this, but I was thinking that Italian football could look at what like La Liga, the Spanish league, Brazil, Argentina, Spain itself, France, and other teams, what they've done well, and like replicate those ideas and think like what ideas could work. Could we try these different ideas? Could we surprise teams? Too much away perhaps, but I suppose if they talk too much about it, I don't know, big gob sometimes, but giving too much away. But could they surprise teams, like teams going out thinking they're just going to play defensive football or whatever, but they start playing that, what some people call tiki-taka. I don't know if they even call that in Spain, but it's been dubbed tiki-taka football, which Barcelona and Spain played, where they pass and move the ball really quickly. 1-2 touch football that they play in Spain. Could Italians try that? I suppose it might take a while to implement. Also, the youth system, like how did Spain develop more younger players? Like the national team in Spain really didn't win so many things till more recently. Well, I say recently, like since 2008. So I suppose it's been a fair while. But in the 70s and 80s and 90s even, and even early 2000s, they were always the perennial underachievers, whatever perennial means. And also, they've done really well at developing youth teams. They won like 3 trophies in a row, a Euro and a World Cup and a Euro. Pretty good going. I think that's a record. Well, no, that's a record. But their league teams weren't winning a huge amount of trophies, but they've always been thereabouts. But Serie A, the Italian league, and EPL were at the top. So they've managed to turn it around. So I suppose part of me thinks, why not Italy? Why can't Italy do that kind of thing? And one of my worries about the manager of Celtic, the new manager, Bro Wilfred, as I call him, is that I wonder if he is someone who, not be too hypocritical, but I wonder if he's flexible enough to make changes, because if he plays things in a very stubborn way and it doesn't work, then I think it could go south, as they say, or it could go left, or whatever they call it. Basically, it could go wrong really quickly, and I don't want to put too much pressure on the manager. If I could say, I don't think fans should put too much pressure and that negative energy too much on the manager, but in a way, I think this is pretty much a must win. I think if he goes into it and say, I must win this game, because some of the things he's come up with as a manager is like saying, I'm about performance, not winning. And Celtic, to be honest, along with our rivals, the rankers, as I call them, those who I shouldn't mention, but those who shouldn't be named, I guess. We expect to, as I sometimes say, like those who mustn't be mentioned or mustn't be named, but I always mention them anyway. We expect to win almost every game we play, at least domestically, maybe not in Europe, but domestically we go into games pretty much expecting we might lose a couple of games a season, we might draw 2 or 3, maybe 4 games a season, but other than that, we're expected to win. The pressure is so high, and it's not like other teams like Liverpool, Man United, or even Man City perhaps, or Arsenal, or anyone like that. It's almost a given or an expectation to win games, because the level we're at and the league we're in, we're a huge fish, or a big fish at least, in a small pond, in a tiny pond. So we're expected to pretty much always, to eat all the other small fish, I guess. Cannibalize them, or whatever. Strange analogy, but I know I'm a bit strange. But moving on, number 33. I talked before, again, talking about, like, I often recap what I talked about in parts 1, 2, and 3, and talk about how I dream to put those into action, and giving away like free footballs and football kits, pitches, opportunities, and whatnot. I dream that Dyslexic will be able to do that, and like invest into, donate to, and sponsor Italian football and Celtic. And so this is part of the project which I talked about before, like, so to show what we could do in this case for Italian football and Celtic. And in the past, I've often dreamed of having teams like, to be honest, again, a little bit off topic, but Mixie United FC, like for mixed race people. Little joke term I call mixed race people. Again, not taking it too serious, but Dyslexic United FC. But I would love to set up in Italy as a fan of Italian football. But or the equivalent, I think it's Dyslexic. I don't know how to pronounce it, but in Italy. I know there's like Google Translate, and you can press it and tell you how to translate it, how to pronounce it. But I can barely learn English and barely use English, as you can probably tell, let alone learn another language. So anyway, moving on, number 34, I would say places and spaces for playing and practicing football. Number 35, and most importantly, helping to become as good as possible, and working together as a team. Teamwork makes the dream work. Look at how those involved in the club, and I've mentioned this point before, but the owners, co-owners, investors, shareholders, sponsors, and whatnot, all those involved in Celtic and Torino and other Italian teams, connecting together with their fans. Number 36. So yeah, hopefully, most importantly, in my opinion, winning trophies. So with some Celtic supporters, they often say like, not wanting to do well in Europe, it shows no ambition, or shows a lack of ambition. But to me personally, I think if we focus on the league and continue to dominate that and make sure we get back to the top, every time we struggle in the league or we struggle domestically generally, like in cups or whatever, I have to think like Europe should take a seat or hold back. What's the word? Can wait till next year or whatever, to put it simply. But with Italian teams, I'd prefer to see them do well in Europe and that kind of thing. And I dream that ASAP, I talked about before, like Tesla, Tata, Toyota, Tata, and other companies that we're to, even Twitter, and maybe even YouTube, although I know technically it's Y. For some reason, I think of T when I think of YouTube for some reason. Hence, I think of it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But again, I know it technically begins with Y and YT, but companies like that to invest in the club in Torino. And I suppose I think of this figure like 10%. What if they put 10% of their revenue into the club? What if the Italian government and Celtic could somehow have a legal right to offer tax cuts, tax incentives for investing in them? Celtic working together with local politicians like Celtic and Gaelic political parties, the SNP, and local politicians in Glasgow. Maybe say like, in return for letting the club have more investment and more infrastructure, they will help more younger people to get into football and get out of trouble, which would help the local area with that money. So again, a case for like cutting their taxes. So I'd love for Tesla, Toyota, Tata, and others, Twitter, YouTube, and whatnot, to as they be able to be incentivized by getting tax cuts for being able to invest in Celtic and Torino as well. So helping, and that money could go towards buying better players, but also from Torino's point of view, especially developing the youth. When I think about it, because hopefully that would benefit the national team as well. I think that was point number 36, number 37. So yeah, I'd love to achieve that kind of thing. So to have 6 and 7 aside pitches and invest in buying better players and the youth teams, especially when it comes to Italian football. Number 38, I'd love to know about the passion from Celtic and Torino and also other Italian football fans and that kind of thing, and what dreams they have for their club and how to use the passion. So like Italian fans all around the world show that they buy the merch or whatever or get behind their teams, then that could help. If more people follow and support Italian teams as well, Celtic, hopefully that will increase the brand value and encourage investors and sponsors to put more money into them, so to invest in them, have shares in them and all that kind of thing. And I'd love for Celtic and Italian teams to provide a good ROI, return on investment, and good PR for those who invest. And I suppose the PR thing comes to, especially to more people following Italian teams and Celtic, having more fans around the world. Number 39, so again, most importantly to me is winning trophies. Trophies a team wins in its history. Like I think England fans, if they won the World Cup, obviously if they won the World Cup, they go completely bonkers. But they still would have only been on 2 World Cups. I'd still say like Italy's on 4. So yeah, I suppose it's still so there. I'm just joking, but I still like I think Italy's main competitions are like competitions like Germany and Brazil in terms of World Cups and that kind of thing, obviously. But because I look at the league table, like how many have been won over time. I hope that makes sense. I know some people might say, "Oh, you're living off history," but like if Italy would won, I might dream. But if Italy had won like 10 World Cups, I wouldn't even mind if we didn't qualify because I'd be like, we're so far ahead of the next best is Brazil. If they had won like 5 or 6, at the moment I think they're on 5. Yeah, I have to remember. So yeah, hopefully they'll win the next one because then they'll go even further ahead. So yeah, on that note, if Italy, heaven forbid, Italy doesn't turn it around, and if I had to choose, I'd say anyway, after Italy, I'd probably say France or Spain or another Mediterranean team, but anyone but Brazil, England, or Germany, I beg, BEG, an acronym. But anyway, an acronym, that's not right. Initials or whatever you call it. What is an acronym? Yeah, sorry, probably not working. Yeah, an acronym. Sorry. And number 14, yeah. So as I say, most important is getting that investment to win trophies. So the idea of buying better players and investing in academies and things like that is to win trophies. But I know they say there's more than football. There's more to life than football. I often say football is better than life because it's like my sister said, without life you wouldn't have football. But then I think football's like life with most of the rubbish taken out of it. I know it's not always good, like when you lose or when people annoy you, like they moan when you make a bad pass or whatever if you're playing football or whatever it might be, or if you get nervous or whatever. But overall, it's like life with almost all the rubbish taken out of it. I guess I'm being a pessimist, but anyway, I hope that all made sense. But yeah, I hope that Dyslexics can show what talents we have in this case through football. And I'm out, and peace and love.